So let's get started. So yeah, so these are the things that we're going to run through today. We'll go through, Matt will take us through all of this and dive into a lot more depth about these different topics and how he runs his SDR team really well. So I'll just kind of
so has anybody heard of Poppin? Is anyone a customer of Poppin? Awesome. So out of everybody, we have a ton of notebooks over here. We're a different type of company. We don't do this computer software, cool CRM stuff. We focus on you. So we're an employee-based, focused company where we make new furniture, modular, scalable furniture, and we really, really want to focus on the employee and making someone happy at work. So that's why I'm talking about the culture, is we're really, really focused on culture with our customers and with our internal staff. And I really take that to heart because being an entry-level salesperson, my background is actually software. So I developed software in the past, was on product teams, knew what a bad culture was in the past, and I've done sales as well, like companies like Apple Corporate, Best Buy, and whatnot. But I really wanted to make people enjoy their first sales job. Sales is not fun. In all cases, can be really daunting. Quotas are not fun at all. So how do you take that out? And I really focus on that with my team. So I really, really want to talk about the ways I do it with team member training sessions. How do you grow a person inside their role? How do you focus on them? And how do you advance them through a role beyond just an entry-level role? And how do you get them to that level as like the next account executive or your best sales account executive or senior account manager, customer retention person, or maybe you have a completely different division where they get promoted out of your department. How do you find that path? And I think you can find it with a lot of these. How do you create a friendly competition? So really, in essence, we all love competition. We're all in sales, right? So the goal is, how do you get people to want to compete without holding resentment against each other? It's really hard because everyone knows sales converts to commission, right? And you have your neighbor sitting next to you really killing it, and it kind of puts you down if you're not doing well. So how do you get that neighbor to want to help somebody else, right? I had a great mentor at Apple that once told me, I was #1 in the company at Apple, and basically 200 people, and he said one thing to me that really stuck with me, and I really want to kind of hit on that with friendly competition. He said, I asked him, I was like, I'm #1 in all these metrics, how do I get promoted? And he said, where's everyone else sitting next to you at? Are they 2% ahead of you? Are they 2% behind you? How do you bring those people with you? So until you do that, you're not promoted. So I try to instill that in all my employees, that you don't want to be absolutely killing your team. My team members, every single one of them, even in ramp, is at the same level right now at this month, which is super exciting for me. I have a couple of them here today. But knowing that everybody's at the same level, and that if someone's not doing well, how do you bring that competition and get them back in to make it fun for them? Overall Poppin culture, I don't like the term boss, so I want to talk about that, and how do I not be a boss, and how do we be a friend, a mentor, something that helps them really enjoy their career and want to stay in sales. I know when I came to sales, it's like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I dropped out of college, when I got a job at Apple Corporate, started doing product development, moved to New York City from Ohio, and I was like, no one's gonna hire me, I don't have a college degree. Poppin's like, let's take a chance on this kid, and they did, and I was the first sales development rep there. We built out this program, and we built it in our Poppin culture. So I think there's a lot that I can share with you, and I would love to learn from you after the questions that we have to figure out what makes your culture great, and how I can steal some of it, and then at the same time, how can I do things that I do? We are extremely tech-oriented. It's very, very important. Being an SDR is absolutely boring. It's the most boring thing in the world. Admin stuff rules the lives of SDRs. And how do you take that admin stuff off and get them on phone calls, get them on appointments that really get them excited about doing what they do every day to talk about it? That's extremely huge. And I think I did a pretty decent job, and I've worked with Kyle in the past, I've worked with Meg in the past, of eliminating that daunting admin tasks. You don't want to feel like a secretary taking notes all the time. You don't want to be cleaning data. You don't want to do any of that stuff. So how do you remove that, right? So we'll talk kind of on team member training sessions. So team member training sessions, has anybody done that? Like had a team member run a session?
Have you ever been a person that's done a presentation outside of just your typical daily responsibilities and roles?
So basically what I try to do is I try to find my top performers and KPIs that I have, and I ask them in their one-on-one. My one-on-ones are very quick, and I'll talk about them, but I ask them like, hey, would you mind sharing everything that you just told me in a meeting? run a 30-minute session. It's great for career development for that person to teach their peers something and learn from their peers. I might be writing this email completely different than you are, and we don't talk all the time, and we don't have the software to see visibly what you're doing that's making you so successful. So let's get you in front of those other people. Really take you out of your element of being a sales development person and prepare you to be an account executive. You're going to be in meetings, you're going to do client meetings, you're going to do different things. So this is preparing you for the next step. So whether it's, I have a great reply rate, I have a great open rate, I write amazing emails, my phone appointments are amazing, my outbound is out of this world when it comes to generating leads that I've done. Talk about it. Have your team talk about it. It makes one, the member of your team feel really great, but at the same time, it makes your whole team realize, oh, if I do really well, I can do that exact same thing, and it's going to benefit me, and then I can share my experiences the same way with my team members, and it really fosters that culture. Every meeting's a training session, and you can ask my team, I think they would say this. We walk into our morning meetings on Monday, and they could be anywhere from 5 minutes to a 30-minute conversation about what happened in the news last week, but we always talk about what we learned and how we learned from it, and what did we do last week that was wrong. What mistake did I tell them to do? Hey, try this cadence. This should work out for you. It didn't work, they tell me all the time I'm wrong, and I love it. And it's a training situation. I make terrible mistakes all the time, and I love them telling me, I always tell them I'm a terrible boss. But it's because I throw them out there, and I let them do it, but they do it for me, and they A/B test for me, and they show me how I'm wrong, and I love it. And so every training is open, ideas shared, and I foster that. I tell people at the beginning of the training, I don't want to get mad at you for what you're going to tell me, because all I can do is learn from you, because you're in the trenches, you're doing it. I'm not anymore. Things change. What I did 6 months ago, completely different now. So I love hearing from my team. Team feedback. Feedback is huge. I also run trainings for our company. So all the B2B training for all account executives, all SDRs. Preaching is so boring. No one likes uninvolved, non-interactive training. If you're going to pull up PowerPoint and you're just going to click through slides, you're going to have a bunch of bullets. No one's going to listen to you. No one's going to remember. So if has anybody ever had a teacher that they're like, oh my God, that PowerPoint slide was the best thing I've learned from? Raise your hand. But who's had a teacher that mentored them through a process and they remember that person because they made an effect on their life? Use use cases, use life situations, and compare things. I compare our job to dating, 100%. Your first conversation is literally, you're not going to say, hey, I'm Matt, nice to meet you, your company's cool, we're cool, let's hang out. That's not how it's going to work. You're going to be real. And so we try to keep open conversation training. We use case situations, real life situations, and compare every single day with that.
So a couple points because I know we're speaking to different audiences in the audience, right? We're speaking to managers, we're speaking to SDRs, we're speaking to small business owners, and everything else in between, okay? So a couple points within what you said. If you are an SDR, and you're going in any training and you're sitting in any sort of meeting, talk through it, right? You're not going to learn things by sitting there. So if you have a manager that you can speak to, first of all, figure out how to have a great open communication with your manager. That will transform your entire career. If you can't talk to your manager, you're not going to be successful. Because your manager isn't going to feel like they can actually even open up to you. It's definitely a relationship there. So talk in meetings, talk through things, figure out how you learn best, and do that. Don't take notes on your computer while you're looking at a presentation and think that that's how you learn if that's not how you learn. So that's good reminders when you're sitting in a training or you're learning something new or someone's just doing an interesting, coming in and giving you a presentation. Think about how you're going to learn through it.
Yeah, I think the one thing I love about my team, but at the same time I cringe going into sometimes in my one-on-ones, is I challenge my team to bring hard questions to me that I probably don't want to answer in a way, but I try my best to. So as a manager, as being an SDR, I remember asking the really hard questions, why do we even do what we do? Like, why does this make sense? Why do we qualify to this extent? Why would we qualify this much? So as just thinking about how much I want to outreach, how many emails do we send, do we call, what does our cadence look like? Those hard questions that you need to be flexible on as a manager, and especially as an SDR and in sales, asking those hard questions to kind of change what you're doing now. I use the term running in the mud a lot. Salespeople run the mud. They'll do something really great, it's phenomenal. and then it stops working. Some type of weird universal thing happens and it just stops working. And then you start getting really, really bad chemistry and it just doesn't get you anywhere. So hard questions and trying to fix it is really amazing.
Cool.
Friendly competition. So who runs contests, who runs KPI type of things, who's been in the contests that's been fun, just all contests at work.
Spiffs. Does anyone call them spiffs? That's what my company calls them. Sales incentive, SP. Sales incentive performance for fun. No. Sales performance incentive for fun.
I didn't know there was an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym that no one actually knows what it stands for.
So I think awards are great, but I think having a friendly competition is even better. So knowing that someone's next to you and using that mentality I told you about that I learned from my mentor at Apple is setting up a competition that is just every single day. We don't have to throw a spiff in to make people excited. They see their coworker doing great and they're excited for them. That's the culture we want, and we do that by doing things like, I'm going to say SDR converts to inbounds for each other, and in our world that makes a lot of sense, but I want to kind of explain it to you. So we qualify leads, and we reach out to a ton of people, and we have tons of different avenues that people get to us, whether it's phone, live chat, emails back in, someone coming into our showroom randomly unannounced. So say I reach out to somebody, my neighbor next to me, gets someone on live chat, starts talking, goes through the whole process, no idea that I reached out to that person, we're going back and forth. That person will actually convert that person, qualify them, do the whole process for them, and then I'll end up getting the commission for it. And then I do the exact same thing for them. We build a friendly competition that way so that everyone works together, and we've written rules, not that they don't like, that they built themselves on what they think is fair and what's not fair. And I think that's really, really huge on friendly competition. KPIs in sales are huge. Who can see all their KPIs and where they're at all times? So we couldn't before when I started.
Let me explain. So KPIs, if you don't know, that stands for key performance indicators.
So
because we throw around acronyms in this world as well, and like not everybody uses all the acronyms that we use.
So for the metrics that you have in sales metrics, it's really important to see those. I remember I was basically just fighting against a number that I was like, oh, I sent 400 emails last week. I had no idea what I sent the week before. I didn't know where we were growing. I didn't know how many people opened my emails. I didn't know how many people responded, how many appointments I had, who I talked to, who got qualified, who actually closed business, how I was doing. And what I did originally in January is I created these dashboards for my SDRs so they can see inside NetSuite. We use their tool. So that you can see all your KPIs. But then I went further in the past couple months and I put everyone's KPIs on everyone's dashboard. So I can see how my neighbor's doing and I can actually create that culture just natively by looking every day. I know exactly where I'm at compared to my peers. And it helps me be able to compare myself to somebody in a good way. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on about how we match people up and how we created matrices so that we can match people's growth areas and opportunity areas together so they can really reach out to someone and say, oh my God, you're really killing me. I would love to know what you're doing. And so that's a huge thing. Visibility and transparency in sales is extremely important. One of the metrics we're working in development, obviously these are some. So if you don't track these now, I highly recommend them. I've tracked them, I've added them slowly, and I've worked with Kyle before on a couple ones that we've talked through. But understanding how many people have opened, replied, responded to your emails, how many outbound, how many conversions of people did I find that I generated compared to people that came to us easily? How many leads did I even create into our system? Do I use Zoho? Do I use Salesforce? Do I use Pipedrive? Do I use NetSuite? All the different CRMs out there. And then I love this one, even though for like the SDR world, it's not really big for us. We don't close sales, we find people, right? So we never worry about the total dollar amount we create. But the feeling you have when you're at $75,000 for the month that you closed, you don't get commission for it, but knowing that you can do it and preparing yourself for that account executive role, saying, I have an SDR who closed $220,000 a month, and that was one of our top AEs. But she knew before, she was worried about going over to an account executive role, but she saw all the things that she created and she developed, and saw that she created $220,000 and easily could hit her quota every month. So those are some things that we track on and that we think create our friendly competition.
well, okay, I'll add in just like a couple. So just in addition to that, in terms of culture, if you want to do smaller things in addition to just the daily metrics, which having those KPIs is huge, and I'm sure either as an SDR you have some sort of this. So the more you can have, the better. But something that my team really likes, and you could do this, you could suggest this on your team, or you could do this, is the amount of connects that they get. So on a Friday afternoon, that'll be 2 o'clock, and I'll write 40 to 50, just the number, 40, 39, 38, 37. And so it's like basically a call block or call hour, and every single time you get a connect, you get a live person, you get to cross out that number. And by the time they're at 0, you leave. The whole team leaves. And it's a team competition, and one time I really failed as well. I did exactly what they wanted to do, is I put down 30, and then within 31 minutes they had accomplished their goal and got to leave at 2:30, and I shot myself in the foot about it, and I realized it was too easy of a goal. But just think about, as an SDR, like how can you also talk to your manager about what's going to motivate me, and then also figuring out as a manager, how can you do little fun things that really incentivize your team.
A couple things that we do, just kind of give you an idea. We have a really fun office, but I buy candy like in bulk. They live and feed off of candy. My team loves candy. They always yell at me whenever I get a new candy order in. But we also do team competitions very similar to that. We'll do daily ones where I'm just like, hey, my whole team went to Dave & Buster's, and it was a blast. It was amazing. We also did where we just went out and got drinks. It was just, hey, we're gonna leave early and go get drinks. So just having competitions that they like, I think that's extremely important, and not just doing gift cards, doing things that you think they're like. $50 gift cards at Starbucks is, let's be honest, kind of basic. So as much as some people might get excited about it, I don't get excited about it because I'm celebrating by myself. I want to celebrate with my team. One, I don't like coffee, but I think that I would love to celebrate with my team. This is a team success. And if one person succeeds beyond a goal, I'll take my whole team out and we'll celebrate that person, which is phenomenal. That way that person feels really amazing about what they did and how they accomplished. Pairing up strengths and growth areas. Has anybody been paired up before with somebody who was doing better in an area? Or have you mentored somebody that was doing not so great in an area? Or did you ever have, I guess, a peer who was like, hey, I'm doing really better at this than you are. I'd love to tell you what I'm doing. Okay. So we created our matrix of...
Do it more. Or start raising your hands.
So basically we created a KPI chart, and I put it in Excel, and I was really bad at Excel before, but now I'm pretty decent. So I ranked everybody on conditional formatting from 1s to 5s in every category. I did a comparison. And so at any point in time, when I upload my data from my system into there, I know exactly who's number 1 in what category and who's last. And those two people are always working together. One, it creates great friendships in your group. My team, I would consider all of them friends. They go to lunch together, they have a great time together. But it's not like, hey, this person's doing really bad. There's something that person that was number 1 in the one aspect, and the other person that was 10, that person that was 10 was probably 1 in the other aspect, is just doing something wrong. They can share. So I will always pair my teammates together, and I don't say, hey, Kristen, go talk to Cole on this. Or I say, like, Cole, go talk to Sarah about this. I tell them, hey, you're doing amazing in this, and I think that Kristen could be helped out by that, and I think Kristen can help you in this. So why don't you guys work together for the next couple of days without my attention, and then tell me how that works in the next one-on-one. Tell me what you learned, tell me what you tried out, what didn't work, what did work, and really kind of feed each other off each other, which is really, really successful. So these are the things I compare against and I rate against so that people can work together. They all are things that we can all get better at, and all are controllable by us, by certain aspects, and then identifying that and then giving feedback from what they've learned.
And even if your manager doesn't set it up, just find an hour. See if you can take that hour lunch break, and instead of taking lunch, see if you can shadow someone that you admire. Shadow someone in a direct sales role. I think that goes to this. I really try to instill that in my team. They get, they're doing all of this work to directly benefit and bring in revenue for our company. And they don't know what's going on the actual sales side once the sale is happening. So I get my BDRs to, I would call them BDRs, to actually sit through the entire deal cycle. Now, the deal sizes for Poppin, what's your average deal size?
It ranges down furniture. So it used to be like 3,000 to 5,000 for like, we do branded items like those notebooks, but then anywhere up to 280,000 for furniture deals.
Right. So yeah, it depends on the type of deal. Ours are all, they don't go below $40,000 a pop. So you're not gonna have an SDR doing that day 2. So when they go into the sales cycle, it's a process. We have to have the technical salespeople that know the back end financial piece. That it's a long process. So the SDR gets to sit in and see how the qualification then call goes, how the discovery call goes, how the demos go. They get to sit through that process. So see if you can make that a part of one of your goals for a quarter. If you have goals, say, hey, I'd love to just add this little piece in. I'd love to actually see how these sales go through and happen. You have to do this on your own too. If you don't have your manager telling you to do that, do it on your own, and you'll be the one that's getting promoted because you're thinking outside the box and you're doing the different things that other people aren't necessarily doing. Cool. Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh, now I'm going backwards. Shoot.
So I kind of want to talk about Poppin's culture, and it's not a sales pitch at all. Our slogan's work happy. So some statistics that we do is when I started in January, we've had, I think, we'll be running on 13 SDRs soon. I think 3 start on Monday. But we've had a 100% retention rate from SDRs, which doesn't really happen in sales very often. And our program is about an average 5 to 6 months that someone gets promoted to account executive. It's a very fast pace. We've had 4 people promoted, and one of those 4 people actually was promoted into one of our wholesale departments. Completely different than what we did. We prepped her for a different role, completely. And that's what I was mentioning before, is that you might find someone in your role in your company, phenomenal worker, great at what they do, but they just don't fit in the sales department that you're in, the sales process you are. But taking that extra step and asking another person how that person can help out, how they can add value, is really huge in our culture. So I always ask, I had all my one-on-ones today, and I asked everybody, I want your next one-on-one, I want you to come with some really hard career growth questions for me. Where do you see yourself at Poppin? Where do you want to be? And is it even in this department? Give me the hard answers. I'm not telling anybody, it's a closed door conversation. I want to figure out how I can help you get to that area. We make one-on-ones very quick. If we don't need to meet, we don't meet. Everything's visible. So that's the benefit about the one-on-ones with us, is that your one-on-one are questions for your manager or for the managers to ask your SDRs. It should be very quick, it should be a purpose, and I always put tasks on them to bring to the next one so that I know exactly what I need to prepare for and what they need to prepare for the week, and what I want them to try out, and I give them small little metrics to go after. Google Chat is key. Does anyone use Google Chat? There's probably like people use Slack too and everything.
Cisco, Jabber.
AIM, Instant Messenger. So Google Chat's key. So my boss, my sales director actually asked me if this is something that I asked him if he thought it was a good idea, and I said, too bad, I'm doing it either way. But I made a Google Hangout for every single person on my team that's on my team and then also been promoted out of my team. It's phenomenal what happens in that chat and how people help each other out when I'm not even in it. I printed the transcripts and read them before, and I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that person was that funny, but at the same time, I didn't realize that that person knew all the answers to every single question that happened in chat. Always the first to answer. I learned so much about my employees, but at the same time, I learned about who everyone goes to. I also learned about, for them, wow, this person needs help in this area. And I'm just basically moderating the chat, and they'll say whatever they want in there. They know I'm in there. And I chat in there every once in a while, throw a funny emoji or a GIF in there to keep the day running. And I put competitions in there, just short messaging. But Google Chat has really changed our culture. It was really bland. We're like yelling over monitors to each other. We're in an open floor plan. But it's hard. People are on the phone. People don't have time to talk to you. You're looking through a bunch of Excel docs, trying to clean out dupes, trying to add things to your CRM. You just don't have time, and sometimes it's just nice to send a chat and be able to scroll through a forum. And it's about work, but at the same time, it's fun. So that's been a huge culture thing for us. I know I spent it's a little bit of time saying this before, but I'm a mentor, colleague, and friend. We had this award, and it was pretty awesome. I won it at work, and I had 3 of my employees came up, and they said, he's not a boss to me. It's weird because he's like my friend. Which is the greatest thing to my ears, because I hate the word boss, and they jokingly called me boss man for a while. But I want to make them better. In the sales entry world, the person that you're working with should be making you better, and if you're not, you're in the wrong place. Because this is your platform to launch your career, and if that person's not literally spending every moment of their time trying to make you a better person, it's not worth it, the company you're at. And if you're not doing that as a manager, you're really not doing your job in a way that's helping your company, because if you focus on that person's growth, metrics will come. So I don't focus on metrics, I focus on people. And I think Poppin really does a great job at doing that and encouraging me to do that. I also create a process to get rid of everything that's fun and not fun and boring. And there are some parts, like today we were cleaning up dupes for 10,000 some odd leads. So sorry guys. But there's some things that you can just get rid of. Just cut out. And you just need to do the research and get rid of them. And I can share that with any of the managers in the building that think that their employees are just doing stuff that they hate doing, and I can help you with the technologies. But there's so many things to get rid of, the boring things, the things that don't work. And I think that's very, very important as well. Being an SDR in the past myself, but then also then working with everybody, knowing what is literally the worst thing about their job every single time we meet. What do you hate about what you do? It's a great question to ask. And how can I fix it?
I think just a big thing in general, as a manager, I have to be really conscious of what do I look like today? Like in terms of, am I looking really frustrated? Do I look pissed off? Or do I have a positive outlook? Do I appear like I'm in a good mood? Think about how your manager looks and acts around you. Think about how you act around your manager. Think about how you speak to your manager. There's so much that goes into building a really good relationship with somebody. Again, it's just not one-sided. So I have to put myself in check. If I know I'm having not a great day, I have to put a smile on because I end up generating the energy of the team. And if my energy's low, they don't hit their metrics, they're not in a good mood, they're a little sassy to me. You know, I mean, it's really incredible how much your own personality and how you act around your team makes a world of a difference. So as an individual contributor, as an owner, as whatever, you just gotta fight through it. Yeah. Oh, there we go again. Oh. Sorry.
So how we get rid of the stuff, how we get rid of the clutter, being a techie at heart and really just kind of being a nerd and a geek. I've done a ton of research on all this stuff and spent hours and hours trying to figure out what's the best solution. And I don't think I have it because I don't believe in perfection. But these are the tools I use that have absolutely changed our team's lives. And there's plenty of vendors for all these, so I'm not like saying we're sponsored by anybody. But we use obviously Google Hangouts. We do a lot of that weird icon I made, a lot of lead enrichment. We work with plenty of different vendors. We've worked with tons of people to try to figure out how to make that better. We work with Yesware, so we track everything, which is an amazing software. Other softwares out there like ToutApp are phenomenal figuring out how you're doing drip campaigns, everything to automate your sales process. You're doing just the fun stuff. You're talking to people, you're doing what you really want and the reason why you're in sales. Live chat will change your world if you have a website. I can tell you it's 70% of my business. So if it gives you any insight on like 400 types of leads that we find that are qualified, 70% of those come from live chat. So having a chat system is great. We
just got a chat system, and we're a massive company of 4,000 people, and so it's also been incredibly helpful. We use Claudius Cloud. It's a brand new company. It's a customer of ours, and so we're trying out their product.
There's a lot of them out there, Zopim, Olark, whatnot. But that's a whole completely different conversation world. You'll want to speak a certain language on that, and there's a whole training around that I've built out. So if anyone has any questions about that, I can help you with that. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a gigantic player in our world. It's just knowing who we need to go after Unlike most organizations where you're going after the head of the CTO or you're going after the CMO or you're going after the CEO, and it's very clear who your go-to contact is in a lot of cases, we work with 3. And then we also work with, I guess, the wild card, which is like CEOs. When you sell furniture, you sell to CEOs, COOs, office managers, all over the place. So that's literally our saving grace, just LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We can see an organization, we can map it out, we can understand where we're going to go in that and how we're going to talk to them and where we're going to find pain points. And then, like NetSuite is our CRM, that's our go-to. It's literally our crux and everything. That's where we log everything, that's where we check all the messages. And it's really, really important for us to take always detailed notes in there. We talk to anywhere from, last month, a team of 10 of mine talked to 35,000 different people. So without good notes, it's just not, you're not able to do anything. So a good CRM, whether it's NetSuite, Salesforce, having some type of tool to take your notes and teaching your team, and even as a salesperson who's handing off things as an SDR or business owner, notes are critical. And I've adminned to Salesforce before, and my biggest nightmare is bad notes, so I highly recommend doing that.
So that was a lot of talking, and that was awesome. So let's give Matt a quick. So we covered a ton of ground and so many different things, and definitely if you have a particular question about anything that you think Matt can help your SDR team or your company with, definitely grab him afterwards. You can grab me afterwards. I'm happy to tell you what we're doing as well. So questions that the entire group could benefit from are very, very welcome right now.
The sort of the best meeting, the best regular sales meeting, what are the elements that go into a great regular meeting with SDRs?
So are you talking about for training for the SDRs or for with a client?
For ongoing business development.
Okay, so I built out rubrics for all meetings. So what are our goals for this meeting? And by contact, what are our expectations? And we rate each one. So I have a scale rating on each metric that we go after, whether it's an introductory call, whether it's a needs analysis call. Each part of those rubrics give us an idea of what they want to go after. So discovery call for business development for us. We have introduction, so tell us a basic understanding of why we're even on the call with that person. We spend 5 to 10 minutes. To understanding what their role is, why there was even an interest to take that call. To even have a budget, are they responsible for what we're talking about? To setting some type of follow-up up with that person. We never ask, and this is really interesting for the SDR world, we don't do cold calls. We only send emails, and we set 5-minute appointments with people. And we figure out everything we need to know in 5 minutes, and then we either hand them off to an account executive or we follow back up with them. So that's the keys to my successes for business development, is getting rid of the cold call. I get cold calls all the time, and people's trying to sell me SDR software, and it's absolutely an interrupt to my day, and I don't respond well to it. So, and I wasn't ever having the success with it, so those are kind of the key things to our meetings and I think our success.
I'd say ours, if it depends on if you're talking about inbound, something that is generated for you, or outbound. Inbound, we use the acronym ANIM. It's through Vorsight, which is the sales training program. ANIM, it stands for authority, need, urgency, and money. We actually draw a line in the middle of ANIM. So as an SDR, you only actually need to figure out who this person is, what is their role in this process. They don't have to have the buying authority, but they have to have some sort of authority, not just an account manager at a company. And then figuring out why are they calling, more about their role in the company that they work for and what basic functionality things that they're looking to accomplish. And then we really do leave it to the sales reps to take that second piece. We really discourage, we have just basically deflections anytime they ask about price. So that's the urgency, time frame. Again, it's going to really depend on what the rep wants. So we're not always going to be disqualifying a buyer based on that criteria. And the money piece. And there are a lot of other questions. So you can build under each of those regs if you like.
I think the general, and after hearing that, it makes way more sense. Decision maker, interest or need, and willingness to take that next step, appointment. Those are the 3 things. If you take the general understanding of our first meeting and discovery call, those are the things we need to move on. And it works really well, and the clients love it, and they tell us over and over again that we don't, and we make sure that the next person that talks to them, one of our sales reps, or if it's them again, they never repeat any of them. the notes are taken, everything's understood, and we go on.
So you mentioned that your SDRs do not receive commission.
What's it?
You said that your SDRs do not receive commission for the deals that you bring in. What motivates them to do more?
So we do commission, but it's by conversion base. It's not by percentage of sales.
And yeah, how many of those meetings then can convert into
Yeah, so
sales?
we can. Yeah.
Explain.
A conversion to us is the decision maker. We've identified a decision maker. We've identified an interest and need. We've identified that they want to take that next step and they want to talk to an account executive. So that is, in our eyes, we call that a conversion, a qualified conversion. And we pay them a set amount of money for each one of those, no matter if it closes or not. We've had a 34% close rate of all of our conversions over the past year. So we figured out the math and what it comes out to fairly across and the averages. And it grows. It takes 3 months, our sales cycle, so we watch it. Like March is at 39% now. So it's great to see the conversion that month grow and like how we scale. But if you can figure out how much you're closing from your SDR business, you can take that total amount, take it against how much everybody's paid, and then figure out the total dollar you pay. And I highly, highly, highly recommend the individual transactional non-percentage conversion, because you might have someone coming inbound that wants $600,000 with the software, and they literally like, I just want it, I know it, someone talked to me about it before, and they buy it, and that SDR didn't have to do much. The person sitting next to them worked really hard for that $2,000 sale and got less. So it just creates a really weird culture with percentage commission, and for us, I think it's great for them. It's less stress. They know exactly how much they're making every month when they see their counter. It makes it a lot easier for them.
So it's per lead, essentially.
Per qualified lead, yes.
Yeah.
And just to give an idea, mine are pretty high salaried, and then there's a small piece of, I call it a bonus. I don't even call it a commission because I don't think that's really fair. So there are different aspects of that. One of them is how many leads they qualify, how many meetings they set. That's a piece of that extra bonus piece. Another is their lead management process. Are they following the processes? And the SDRs that know they don't do that piece well, they really have to work on it, or they know they're going to get dumped on that. So it's also a learning piece there. And then the other piece of that is outside of their day-to-day trucking along, we expect them to do different presentations throughout their career as a BDR. So they actually learn the product and use the system and do demos as if they were a technical salesperson. And that is a whole other piece of how they get that bonus. So as an SDR, you have to think about multiple factors that go into how they're paid.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions we have about, yeah.
Can you talk a little more about, with open metrics, everybody on the team, seeing what else is doing, how to change that from a motivating factor from a demotivating factor?
Yeah.
I'm getting 2, he's getting 10, and I'm,
Yeah.
How do you put me in a good mood because of that, not a bad mood?
Yeah, so I think that's really, if you already have a culture where you already feel like someone sitting next to you doesn't feel good that you're succeeding, it's really hard to fix. I've read tons of things about it. I don't know the answer to that because we haven't had that, because I started from the ground up and we built this like very encouraging culture. I don't know if you run into that. I don't know how to really necessarily answer that, because I think we've had that every once in a while with like some of our account executives with total quotas, and my suggestion to it is to call it out immediately. Call up in the room, bring in your teams, tell the people that the reason we do transparency is to encourage team development and to encourage you to reach out to people and then lead them to the people. I think with matching people up and pairing people, it's really, really good for their development. And if that person's really resenting the other person, I don't know if that's the person you really want in your organization. I think there's a point in the culture where you either have someone who really wants to work and get better, and you have someone who just doesn't, and just wants to be the best and doesn't care about the person sitting next to them. If that person's doing great, by all means, let that person run with it. But the person's not doing great and not wanting to be that team helper and really learn from their peers, I just don't think that would be someone I want on my team.
We have more, I don't think we go as granular in terms of the entire team members. We have some overall team metrics, and that's actually another piece of how they're paid, is the entire team. We're a national, international organization, so it's actually all the BDRs across the US. We have a number of conversions or leads that we have to get that paid out. But I'd say out of the people that haven't hit their numbers in quarters, you know, one of them is one of the most motivated, hardworking people on my team, and I figure out other ways to make sure that he's not feeling down about himself about just simply this one piece of what he's going to make. Our training program is 12 to 18 months. It's a lot longer, so it's a little different. It's not as fast burning and quite as competitive. It's a lot more just a team setting an environment where those little small meetings, they're not as worked up about the little small meetings. So I think those that aren't doing well, if they have that self-motivation and you know how to continue to motivate them through that process, it's the peer coaching and the spending time figuring out what it is that really is going to motivate them to do the other pieces really well is super important. And if they don't have that piece, then they shouldn't be on. Yeah.
So on Yesware, we're using Talent, but how often are you rolling out like a template that's working? How long are you going to wait on a template that's working by an individual team member to roll it out to the entire team?
Yeah, so I also let my team, we have this thing, it's a category on Poppin voice. So I write 0 templates for them. And I teach a way of structuring an email, and I let them use their own voice. So I don't roll out anything. We have team structured templates, but then they write all their own emails. And if something's not working, we talk about it. We look as a team total. And then I tell them to go ask someone for a template or share a template with somebody. I know Tout, you can share an actual template across the team.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, we don't have like, you know, kind of handing down templates. The team is pretty small.
Yeah.
So, like, if something's resonating with, you know, whether it be objection handling or just initial outreach, we're sharing it with each other pretty quickly, probably within a week or within 2 weeks, and rolling it out as like, you know, the new standard. So are you guys doing a very similar?
Yeah, every week I run our report on each, I can see each individual person, what they're doing, and I'll call someone out who's doing very well, and I'll look at someone who's not doing so well, and I'll look at their templates, and we'll talk about in our Monday morning meeting, and we'll switch it up during that middle of that week. With 3 different contacts that we go after, it's really difficult to know what everyone's doing, because I have 10 SDRs, so you have to imagine that's 30 different cadences times by 3, so that's 90 different templates I'd have to read. So it's hard to keep up with that. I know exactly in our process though what email works best, and then we structure that basis, and I let them use their own voice. So yeah, we should do it that way.
I have an additional.
Yeah.
Okay. You were saying before that one of the metrics you run is on individuals who you're outreaching to, but it seems like you're tallying your conversions by company. So you're putting in individuals and putting out companies. Is that just something additional you do to say like, oh, this is 70 people you reached out to this week? Or is there a purpose for that, you know, indicator?
So, and I apologize if I miscommunicated. We do a person, so it counts as a qualified lead. And then companies, you can qualify for us technically. Say Matt talks to the office manager about furniture, talks to somebody about customization, talks to somebody about new hire kits. That's 3 conversions in our eyes. And they put it all in one company and goes to the same account executive and that account executive.
So you can sell the same company with different sales reps 3 different times from 3 different SDRs.
Well, our account executives go to that same company. So once that person's qualified, it's out of SDR's hands. But we could have 4 SDRs going out for a 10,000 person company, and until someone finds a qualified lead, then once it's qualified, that lead will only hear from one person going forward. We want an account executive until that account dies or stops buying or for some odd reason goes out of business. Basically, that's how we do it.
I think it also depends on the company size. So I have some BDRs that support, you know, our software vertical, and they support company sizes around a certain range, and they can only get 1 meeting per company. Now I also have enterprise business development reps. They're concentrating on any company over $2 billion in revenue. Okay, so you're talking about your eBays, your Amazons, your Cargills, you know, the major in our country. Anyway, and so they can go and get each division they can concentrate on, and they can get a meeting in if they are subsidiaries within a big company. So you have to kind of slice and dice depending on the size of company it's nice to be able to measure your metrics depending on the size of the company, because it wouldn't be fair, right?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess to start off, congratulations on 100% retention with your 13 SDRs. It's very impressive. So, how do you manage internally, like A and B type players within the SDR team? And have you had to use performance plans? How are you managing, let's say, B performers to get them up to that A level outside of just mentoring and matching them with the top performer?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I've been lucky, and I don't want to say this because my team's here, but I've had very few B performers, and I've been really lucky, and it goes a lot to how we interview and how I ask. Like, one of the big questions I ask interviewers to start off is, do you want to learn? Why? If you don't want to learn and you don't want to help me launch your career, that's why you're here. If you can't say yes to me and just say yes because of the job, then we ask that hard question immediately, and if someone stumbles on it, I don't even hire them. But to talk to that, performance is very, very, I don't do many PIP plans. I've never even done one, the performance plan. But how I deal with small little things is I focus on what I know will fix that, and I go over and over again. I'll stop by their desk, I'll tell them, hey, how did that work out for you? I know you were doing this before and we're now doing this. Has it changed anything? Give me your feedback. Are you trying, are you not? And I constantly am with them, asking them. And I feel like that's why it's been successful. As much as I don't have like a structure around it, I'm just open to being like, hey, I told you to try this. Did you try it at all? Or did you not? And did it work, did it not? And what can I do? If it didn't work, then I'm not holding that against you because I told you to do it. But try something else. And that's where the peers help a lot, to be honest.
This is bad form. I'm going to ask just one more question. So what would you say has been your biggest failure as an SDR manager, or something that, looking back, you wish you handled differently?
Time management. And
Your own?
yeah, mine. I like to take everything onto my plate. It's one of my flaws, and I think I don't spend enough time with my people. I think when I do spend the time, it's some quality time. I think my SDRs will tell you after like in a networking session how I deal with them when I have it, but missing a one-on-one, it's my flaw. Literally it is. That one-on-one can mean the world to that SDR, and we change that because I miss them. I get held up in meetings, I run sales training, I help with our marketing awareness programs. It just happens. So I ask them, hey, to do me a favor, it's not that I don't care about your one-on-one, come to me. So I feel like I'm working on that flaw, but I feel like really spending the time that I scheduled every week with that person is my biggest flaw.
Yeah, okay. Mine's the same, I'd say. The more, and so just role playing is a huge thing that I try to do as much as I can, and I don't do enough. It's something that I feel like is a strength of mine that I can really help my team and just get them really comfortable on the phone. And I'll just grab them, we'll go to a conference room and we'll go through like, just do your job, right? Do what you're supposed to be doing. I'm just gonna sit here and watch. And then I'll pop my recorder on when they actually get a live person. And then we'll stop and replay that call and just talk through it. That's something that's like my dream to do that all day, all the time. And it just happens not enough at all. I find myself like just head in the system. Doing a lot of the menial tasks that I know they don't want to do, so I prefer to just try to handle them really quickly. And then I just do that all day. So.
I just have a question. Do you feel like that strategy is intimidating to your team sometimes, like going in and recording a call that they're on? Do you think that like they'll act differently on that call, like just because you're in the room with them recording it, than they would if they're at their desk and no one was paying attention and they're just talking? Or do you see like, is that?
I think it all comes down to how you train them in the first place. So in my training, we do a 4.5 week long training session. The amount of product that we have, it just takes that long. And we also have them spend an entire week building the system on their own. So through that training, I'm constantly saying, what does that mean? What does that mean? What did they say? What's the answer to that? Come give a presentation on what we just discussed over the past 30 minutes. So they're so used to that, and we're in such close quarters that they'll like be like, they'll want to go into a conference room anyway to make some calls. So if I'm there, being that I don't get to shout at them as much as they would even want, they like it. And it also comes down to the relationship that I have with them. So we're time is up. So great. Well, thank you guys so much for all your